If you're anything like me, you probably spend hours scrolling through endless camera pages, wondering whether the next body you click add to cart will actually deliver the results you need or just sit on a shelf gathering dust. The fear of splurging on a mirrorless system that looks great on paper but falls short when you finally hit record is real, especially when you're juggling a budget and a growing list of creative projects. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this review, I'm going to walk through the Panasonic LUMIX S5IIX the way I would have wanted someone to explain it to me before I bought it, focusing on real-world shooting, the things that actually matter when you're out in the field, and the moments where this camera either shines or lets you down. First off, let's talk about who this camera is trying to serve. Panasonic positions the S5IIX as a full-frame workhorse for creators who need both high-resolution stills and serious video capability. If you're a hobbyist who only shoots snapshots at family gatherings, you'll probably be fine with a less expensive APS-C model. If, however, you're a freelance videographer, a YouTube content creator, or a documentary photographer who frequently moves between stills and video, the S5IIX lands squarely in the sweet spot. It offers a 24.2 megapixel sensor that balances detail with manageable file sizes. And the real clincher for many creators is the unlimited video recording and built-in live streaming support, a feature that eliminates the dreaded recording limit warnings that can ruin a take. One of the first practical tests I ran was a day of street photography in low light conditions. I was walking through a city block after sunset, with ambient light barely reaching 5 electron volts. The S5IIX's phase hybrid AF performed impressively. The autofocus locked onto moving subjects within a second, and the focus tracking stayed steady even as people turned or walked toward the camera. In older systems, you'd often see hunting or missed focus, but here the AF seemed confident enough to let me focus on composition rather than worrying about the focus indicator. That confidence translates directly into fewer missed shots and less time reviewing images later. Low-light stills are a different story. The sensor's 24 megapixel resolution means you're not forced into excessive ISO to get a usable image, but the camera does push the noise floor around ISO 6400. In practice, that means if you're shooting indoor events or night scenes and you can keep the ISO under 3200, you'll get clean results with good color fidelity. Pushing beyond that starts to introduce a soft grain that, while sometimes aesthetically pleasing, can be a problem for commercial work where you need pristine detail. The bottom line is that the S5IIX is solid for low-light work, but it isn't a miracle worker. You still need to respect the sensor's limits. Stabilization is where Panasonic really leans into its heritage. The new Active IS technology combines sensor shift with in-body Euro data to deliver up to 6.5 stops of shake reduction. I tested this by shooting handheld video while walking through a park, using a 2435mm kit lens at 24 frames per second. The footage stayed remarkably steady, even when I deliberately shook the camera to simulate a jittery walk. When you pair this with a compatible Panasonic lens that adds optical stabilization, the combined effect is almost gimbal-able for most run-and-gun scenarios. For creators who can't lug a full rig around, this built-in stability means you can capture smooth footage without the extra weight and cost of external stabilizers. Now, lenses. The LUMIX mount ecosystem is still growing compared to the more mature Sony mount or Canon RF line, but Panasonic has been expanding the lineup with a decent range of fast primes and versatile zooms. If you already own Panasonic O-mount lenses, you can use an adapter, but you'll lose some of the native stabilization benefits. For newcomers, the kit's 2470mm f/2.8 is a solid all-rounder that covers portraits, landscapes, and events without swapping glass. However, if you plan to specialize, say, in macro or ultra-wide architecture, you'll need to check whether a native mount lens exists or if you're comfortable using adapters that might introduce a slight lag in AF performance. In short, the lens ecosystem is usable, but you should map out your focal length needs before committing. Menu navigation on Panasonic cameras has historically been a point of friction, and the S5IIX is no exception. The touchscreen is responsive, and you can quickly toggle between photo and video modes with a swipe. Yet, digging into custom settings still feels like scrolling through nested layers of options, which can be daunting for beginners. If you're a seasoned user who likes to tweak every parameter, you'll appreciate the depth. If you're just trying to point and shoot, you may find yourself spending extra time learning where the quick menu lives. My suggestion is to spend a half hour in the camera's My menu before your first shoot, pinning the controls you actually use to avoid hunting during a take. Battery life is another practical concern. The S5IIX uses Panasonic's DMWBF1 battery, which in